Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the break. Hope you guys are rested up and everything. Once again, I'm Naisu, joined here with it's Burger Kim joining us for the second match here. Of course, for the American Regional Qualifiers, IESF, the road to the WEC. Mirko is going to take a little break. He'll be back shortly after this. But now we have the next matchup ahead of us. And I'm sure you guys saw it loading up in the screen here. But it is going to be Colombia and the Bahamas. Kim, I know you already, you got to see some of this, some of the action yesterday, even, and earlier today. You had a sweep, a very dominant one. Colombia kicked this off yesterday, and they are currently, I believe, in their group. At least they're one of the teams at the top, if not the top. And the Bahamas is struggling here, so I'm not sure if you caught the Bahamas game, because I know we were pretty late for us, at least yesterday. But I don't know. What are you thinking here? Is this going to be Colombia? Is this going to be Bahamas for this matchup?
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here right now. I think the last game... Oh, wait. No, I casted the Bahamas game up... Was it against the U.S.? But definitely I casted the Bahamas game yesterday. And, man,
yeah.
They're really struggling. No wins just yet. I mean, based on the IESF.gg website, you guys can check that out. There are some matches that aren't streamed, by the way, so you guys can get some updates for the Americas regional qualifiers there. But Bahamas going up against Colombia, somebody who has
was us. That was us yesterday. Yeah. It was us. I just remembered. It was us for Ecuador. Yeah, Ecuador is who they played.
But I didn't see Colombia, though. That was you and Mirko.
Colombia
versus Ecuador. Yeah, that was you guys.
Yes. Yeah. So reintroducing Colombia real quick here. Of course, we have Delica Etu. We have Astro, we have Primary God, we have Replic, and Abyss Cutie. I was calling him Abby's Cutie yesterday, but Abyss Cutie. We got, again, if you guys joined us yesterday for day number 1, you got to see them play already because we have them on stream. Don't forget, just as a reminder, there are games going off stream as well. And you guys can stay up to date to all the standings and the results that you want by just heading on over to IESF.gg. I believe if you guys are watching, obviously, on YouTube, there is also
the link,
the old stream bot, dropping the link for you guys there too. So, we'll take a look at the lineup also and reintroduce the Bahamas here in just a second. But, you were saying we got to cast the Bahamas, and I think we both agreed on, they had a lot to kind of fix and adjust, and I'm just kind of wondering if they were able to do that in a span of 24 hours, literally.
Oh, that is hard. I mean, I can't get my sleeping schedule right in 24 hours. So I think having a draft coming into day number 2, I think they have to take into consideration what they've learned in day number 1. And this is the group stage that we're talking about. And Mirko and I were talking about how endless the possibilities are for the group stage. You can go for cheese picks, you can go for experimental. This is the way to go, right? And going to the Bahamas, for some of you guys might have seen their games yesterday, but let me introduce them once again. You have Alexander Pancakes, Angelique Usagay, you got Belano Sunza, Clan Yellow, and then you got Chris Lucky Buck 4K3.
Yeah, and I think looking at the Bahamas in their group and the way that they played yesterday, I think it was pretty much what we said is Pancakes. I don't know if because of something that happens here in the ISF a lot of the times is they switch roles, right? But at least from what I can recall, Pancakes was the jungler. He was typically there. And remember, almost every single time that we saw them play, it's they weren't able to keep up with the jungler to jungler matchup. The momentum set by their opponents usually was what outscaled them very quickly. So I think part of the problem for the Bahamas was just being able to secure their jungle early on, get the farm that they need, secure even the buffs. If you even recall, we saw double retribution strategy yesterday being used. Not sure if that was intended or not. But it ended up working in the game that was used. And I believe it was at the game against the Bahamas here. So we'll see if the Bahamas kind of adjust from that, because I still think that even when you look at this situation here, because today's technically the last day of groups, right? I mean, by the time we get all this said and done and the games off stream happening too, I believe groups are pretty much over, and then we start heading off into the playoffs tomorrow. So at this point, what's at stake here for the Bahamas might just be to a sense of let's go get at least a win as we close out our time in the qualifier, you know, because they're up against a team that is sitting at the top. You know, they have not, I believe they've swept all their opponents
so far,
if I recall correctly. So far, Colombia's been pretty good, you know. So I think for the Bahamas here, it's really just what have they learned from yesterday, especially, and that's part of, I guess, part of IESF. Very quick, and you have to be able to adjust. We'll see if the Bahamas can go out to win. Of course, they kind of get through this against a #1 team currently, Colombia, in their group. As we jump into the draft here, you can already see it too. Very similar bands coming out. Have you seen anything like surprising, at least, from your game earlier or maybe even yesterday that you can remember?
Well, I mean, if it's the United States playing, it's definitely the horse. I mean, even for the stream, right? Everybody was saying that it's a very niche. It's a very niche pick, but it works. Works for the horse for IESF. But that's probably the most interesting one that I've seen. Apart from that, I'm actually happy to see a lot more edits coming into like the group stages, because we haven't seen it a lot, especially in day #1. Coming into day #2, there's a whole lot more edits, especially in the first series that we had. Didn't really have a very good win rate, but hopefully under the hands of either Colombia or Bahamas here, it might actually work. It's like a 50-50. Like when USA played it, it was really good. So it's under the hands of Shark. He was able to get in a very good early game for the team, and eventually, you know, led them to their first turtle take. Eventually, get in the win. Actually, very weird as well coming out from Colombia here as we look into the draft. Sicilian ban. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Naisu, I think it was Abyss Cutie picking up the Sicilian. So is this?
He's the one that played it.
Yeah, he's the one that played it. So is it like a target ban for Bahamas? Because I know that they've played like a Sicilian Carmilla combo for Bahamas, so I think that might be a thing that they're considering here to take out as well, since Bahamas kind of goes for like sustain jungler, tanky jungler, and then go for like scaling gold lane and mid lane.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I guess I'm more so just surprised that they decided to ban it out, because, like you said, it was Abyss Cutie that pulled it up and had success with it. The Bahamas, again, they weren't able to find that even when they paired it with the Carmilla. So I think it might just be covering the base of, you know, at least taking out a comfort pick against the Bahamas from what Colombia saw, maybe even yesterday. Again, we don't know 100% if, you know, they actually scrimmed against each other leading into this. That was something that was always like surprising to know in the other regional qualifiers, was how much some of the teams actually practice against each other. If it was a smaller community, they still got scrims somewhere or another, and sometimes they didn't have any, you know, scrims, and they just kind of had to practice through, you know, the old RG basically. But that is going to be Zaspy and banned out too. Good quality bans though, I would say, aside from the Sicilian. Again, I just don't think it was, you know, you really need to do that unless it's just for pure comfort. Bahamas, on the other hand, are purely taking out these assassins, Hayabusa, Ling. Not sure if they'll take out one more. Okay, they do take out the Jushin. Good pick, because I know, you know, in another tournament that we've seen, there's even a meme of going on, you know, you leave Jushin open. You know, if she's open, you go ahead and lock her in. But they handle that. And Roger's going to be the first pick here for Colombia.
A super safe pick. This is what I was talking about with Mirko. Like the teams, even in the European qualifiers, it was almost always a prio pick, especially when it's open and you're on the blue side. It doesn't matter what your opponent is going to pick up. As long as they have their hands on Roger, they're pretty much sure that they can adjust their draft down the line. Like whatever Bahamas will pick here, I think for Colombia, they can work around it, and they're confident around this Roger. So Bahamas, they pick up the Yuzong immediately, I guess, to deal with the backline that Colombia might have. It's a very good XP laner, I would say, but Bahamas, they love this Carmilla. Like how I love this Carmilla. I would really love for it to work in this lineup, but so far I think they have a very beefy first two picks, and for Colombia, they're just racking up the damage so far, picking up the Roger and Harriet, kind of signaling that the Roger will be in the jungle here.
So I guess that's why they did it. They just assumed, you know, the Carmilla was going to come through. Why not just ban out the Sicilian so they can't go that combination? Also, I believe, you know, again, just to let our viewers know, this is like a visual thing with the API from the Bahamas. That should be a CC. not a Yuzhong. Because every time we see the updated
Oh.
or the red Yuzhong, it's usually a CC. We had this even in previous qualifier as well. So should be a Carmilla and a CC combination. Yeah, okay. Yuzhong. So when you see that one locked in, that is actually the Yuzhong. So
Mm-hmm.
Colombia goes and grabs themselves a Yuzhong. Very interesting picks here in the first phase already from the Bahamas. Like I said, with CC Carmilla, these are not traditionally heroes that you'll see picked up, for the most part, especially in the early phase with so much open. We're talking about like the Ediths, like we mentioned earlier. Still, even to be said, like, what do they want to put in the gold lane? They know they're going to be going against this Harith, assuming it is going to be Harith gold lane because Roger's going jungle here. And the Bahamas already tried to kind of like choke out the options for the jungle with the Hayabusa and Ling pick because of what we saw Colombia do yesterday. But they will go ahead and take out a Vexana. Or they'll take the Vexana for themselves here for the Bahamas.
Ooh, I like this. It's a combination that you've seen it for content creators for MLBB. They've been hyping this up. One of them is Elgin, if you guys are familiar, one of the top content creators for MLBB. He's been hyping up this Carmilla Vexana combination, and honestly, if they are able to layer the skills really well, it can result to a team wipeout, which I've actually personally experienced, and I didn't know like this is the possible combination with the Carmilla, because usually you'd see it like, oh yeah, she's paired up with the Sicilian, but she's actually pretty good with any burst mage. So I guess Bahamas prioritizing that. They got someone to zone with the CC. I feel like they have to have somebody to front apart from the Carmilla, either a Minotaur or perhaps like a Tigreal, somebody to front. And now Colombia, knowing that for a fact, they've already taken away the Barretts, which we know that they've prioritized even in yesterday's game. So they're more of like utility jungler for the Bahamas. I'm not so sure if it's a Carmilla jungle here for the Bahamas, because in game number 1 or the series number 1 for the Americas qualifiers today, we've seen a Carmilla being utilized up against the United States. Didn't really work out well since it was more of like assassin versus utility. So it was a really fast game. But let's see for Bahamas, they can still adjust because the Carmilla is pretty flexible.
I'm trying to sit here and think too, like what they'll bring into the jungle this time, and that's the thing. Like I think the Barretts was a warranted ban because, like you mentioned, like Bahamas, we saw them play that yesterday against Ecuador, and that was the double retribution composition when they had the Hylos. They had the Hylos, and I think the jungle was the Hayabusa. So it was Hylos, Hayabusa, Rocket Retributions from Ecuador against the Bahamas, and it was like a tough time for Pancakes over here. So last ban still on that gold lane option, taking out the Claude here. The Bahamas took out the Roam option with the Matilda and the Minotaur. That second phase of the bans. Good choices because if they wanted to, it's like you want to play into the fact that you have this Vexana. I haven't seen those videos that Elgin has made, but I can see how it's going to work, and especially with the Curse of Blood that you have Vexana already. I mean, Eternal Guard is great too, and remembering the fact that this is a CC, so that it could all play into playing around a Curse of Blood and a Vexana, but really, what are you going to put in the jungle? That's where I'm kind of trying to pay attention for the Bahamas here. They might pick up their gold lane option first. Maybe a Moskov? Maybe maybe something. They pick up a Nolan.
That's
okay,
interesting.
so they pick up a Nolan. Yeah, this is interesting because depending on these next 2 picks from Colombia, I feel like this is going to be pretty difficult for the Bahamas to pull off, though, just with, the amount of magic damage that this lineup already has. Again, a Nolan, a Vexana, a CC, and then a Carmilla. Yeah, I don't know. They're going to have a really good gold lane option here for the Bahamas to kind of farm up, pop off, and Colombia.
Yeah. Again, the gold lane, depending on the lineup or the last 2 picks here of Colombia, I still feel like Bahamas again lacks that front line, which they really had yesterday, but again didn't really work out well for Colombia. Whoa! It's Natalia and a Grok. So there's a lot of, I would say, vision, assassination potential, and definitely chaos in the jungle with the Grok. I think that's what they're trying to go for here for Colombia. Make sure that the Roger gets his farm And this was the same case for Bahamas. If they don't address the threat here of the last two picks, the Natalia and the Grok, it's going to be really hard to farm, especially if you're Nolan, that you kind of want to get in as much jungle creeps as you can, especially in the early game. So they need a good gold lane. I would say somebody who can fend off for himself. The Claude is already out of the option. Moskov, perhaps maybe even a Brody, but knowing that there's a Natalia here, that's also something that Bahamas is really considering.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. What do they lock in? Oh, they go Clint.
Okay.
This is, I don't know. I feel like your back's against the wall at this point, Kim, because it's like, what are you going to pick up? And against this lineup, you know, just having a Natalia across from you is kind of dangerous enough for the Bahamas. They've got to be constantly on the lookout for the Natalia roaming around with the assassin instinct, you know, as soon as she enters that that invisible phase, if you will, and then the burst damage that she can actually use and then get out of it, right, in an instant, nearly when her ultimate's up, is going to be tough for the Bahamas to deal with. I think even when you lock in a Clint, I don't know what battle spell is going to be here, because we've seen them just actually opt for flickers. I don't know if they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to do that, because at this point you just have to be able to dodge when the Natalia initiates, or even dodging the wild charge. Mind you, too, there's an actual Yuzhong across from them, so you know, I know Yuzhong. The real Yuzhong, and so front line, like, who is the front line? The front line is the Eternal Guard and maybe CC, because I feel like even with this lineup, Carmilla is going to struggle with this. So I don't know. We'll see exactly how Colombia wants to play with their lineup. They've got the boxes covered, though, I'd say here. They have good magic damage, good physical damage spread out. So let's jump into the Land of Dawn here. It's game number 1 of this best of 3. Colombia versus the team from the Bahamas. We already know, of course, like I said, the standings here. Colombia on top of their portion of the group. Bahamas, they're at the bottom. So we'll see if they can just go ahead and get a victory working on this too. Yellow has the Warcry emblem, by the way. So, and he did pick up the flicker, but you can already see what Astro's up to. And this time around, Pancakes is actually going to be the focus. So it looks like they did another role swap here, Kim. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yep, a role swap onto Pancakes. Will it be enough? The Vengeance, though, will be able to safely get Pancakes back into that turret. But Astro, though, has another option here. Going to try to go in for the dive a little bit too deep. And he gets outplayed there by Pancakes. Abyss Cutie, though, finally finds the exchange here over on the top side. A little bit too overzealous there. But the Bahamas as well, they have some plans over rotating towards this gold lane. Clint up against the Harriet. I would say right now it's a bit at par when it comes to the level, and you see like the urgency as well coming up from the Bahamas, making sure that it's a 3-man rotation here over at the mid and the jungle.
Wow, okay, I mean, it looks like they're putting enough pressure, at least for now, from the Bahamas. Oh, Lucky, gonna be fine. Okay, gets out too. It still holds on to the fracture, but you know, Turtle's gonna be up here in just a second too, as they kind of get prepped up for this. So I wonder how. Oh, Lucky.
Oh, no. Yep, Lucky. Forced to use the retribution here for Prime Mary God. He's able to get the kill, but with that being said, no retribution available, but he knows for a fact that the retribution holder is no longer here for the Bahamas. There's nothing to fear, no one to zone them away. Half HP already for the Turtle. I don't think Bahamas is going to be able to do anything about it, as Colombia will safely secure it. Over on the top side, though, they spot out Pancakes and immediately take him down. That's going to be the Turtle for the side of Colombia.
A whole lot, you know, for the Bahamas. I was like, man, maybe they could be able to find something, but unfortunately for Lucky, he gets taken down. They give up the objective, and now he's going to go ahead and grab his purple. But you know, this is, and I'm almost just wondering, maybe the Bahamas, you know, they're still in that experimental stage. Again, this is always something with the IESF qualifiers we have to keep in mind is, you know, some of these teams don't have as much practice. Maybe they recently formed the teams as they got ready for the qualifiers or the selection even to get to IESF. And, you know, for the Bahamas, because of now that we've seen them switch roles multiple times, still trying to find that secret recipe, you know, to success here. Skypiercer is going to be picked up by Lucky, but look at the focus now on Yellow. Yellow has the information, sees Abyss Cutie, but Astro's around the corner too.
There's the Guardian's Barrier. Flickers out here for Yellow. Gets stunned here by Abyss Cutie, and Marigod will be able to pick up the kill here for the side of Colombia.
Okay, pick off and pickoff is the plan here for Colombia, especially with this lineup. You can already see it too. Quite a bit of damage, you know, coming out from Astro already. Mind you, also he's got the execute available, but it's Abyss Cutie. The fact that Abyss Cutie has 2 kills on this Grok is playing a part too, because, you know, like we said, he was playing the mages yesterday.
Yeah.
Top side though.
Yep, that's gonna be lucky. Not gonna be able to again survive under his own tower. Going back to the Grok though, this is not even a weapons. I'm actually curious, is that a weapons master Grok? Because it's dealing a lot of damage, and not to mention the insane follow-up, the dives coming out from Colombia is just too unreal at this point. And they've gotten a hold of the turtle as well as the turret over on the top side and even the bottom side. So map control is over onto their side as a Bahamas. They're just reacting to everything that they're doing right now. Well charged from Abyss Cutie. And that's going to be Dalika diving in with the Petrify here, and that's going to be them again, Colombia, picking up kills after kills. 15k, a 5k lead for Colombia as Bahamas again backs against the wall, and a lot of their turrets are taken down, bottom side, top side. So again, it's going to make it so much more easier for Colombia to take in these neutral objectives.
I can't believe Abyss Cutie did not go down with all those members there. As far as the weapon master, you know, unfortunately we don't get to see the tier 2 talents there, but concussive blast enough to kind of help Abyss Cutie push some of these lanes and even have a little extra damage. It's going to be another objective secured here for Colombia. So, you know, with everything they've managed to do, whether that was Abyss Cutie or even from Astro setting the pace, they're going to go down bot again. But again, with what they've been able to accomplish, they got themselves 6,000-7,000 gold ahead. You know, this is massive for 5.5 minutes in. They already got those 2 turtles. They're most likely going to get the 3rd one as well once it's up. So you can see still the focus here on the bottom side under the turret.
Again, the pressure of the Natalia will always be there, right? And not to mention, you can't really see it going around the map. It's pretty much invisible. And, you know, there's all of these dive potential from Colombia. So, again, I feel like Bahamas, they're being a little bit too extra careful. As you see, like, most of the time, the engages are going to be coming from the side of Colombia. That's going to be the Black Dragon 4 activated there. But it is just to zone away the members of Bahamas. They can't even reach their purple buff here as they keep on going. Abyss Cutie going in for the wild charge. And the Eternal God has landed. Replic will pick up the kill as Usagi will retaliate with taking down the Yuzong. But then again, 3 deaths for Lucky in this game. There's an expiry time for the Nolan here as well. I mean, you're going up against a Roger who has so much better wave clear, and at the same time, you're giving it kills after kills. 202 for Primary God and 2 turtles to take in here for Colombia.
Man, this is just how much Colombia is confident in their lead. Look, they're half health here. They're going to get forced back. Pancakes might want to go for Prime, though. Not sure if the rest of the team actually wants to follow up with Pancakes. Looks like they don't. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, though. The lead that has been built here by Colombia is just showing. And the way that they're diving against these tier 2 turrets, in between them and the base turrets, Astro's still possibly looking for a pickoff.
Oh!
Whoa!
Wow. Lucky. That was just one hit. Going out from Replic at this point, by the way. Like, we've been so focused on Primary God, we haven't really checked Replic, who had the best time, of course, going up against the Clint. He's standing at the 202, just hit that level 10 mark, as compared to Yellow, who is 2 levels behind, not to mention the immense pressure that it's being given by Abyss Cutie and Astro. And you're talking about the lineup that's not playing with the traditional mid lane. You have a Grok and a Natalia. You know, 2 heroes that definitely want to go pickoffs after pickoffs. And speaking of the pickoffs, there it goes again. That's going to be Colombia picking up another kill onto Pancakes, who already suffered like 5 deaths, as Colombia once again will be able to take the last turtle of the game.
Yeah, at this again, you know, with the massive lead that Colombia has here, very similar to what we even saw one of their matches yesterday. You know, Replic got, I think it was back-to-back MVPs. Yellow has to flicker out. Astro doing damage here on this Natalia, time and time again, really putting the pressure. Replic again, gonna find Pancakes.
Does not have the vengeance. Look at the basic attack. Curse of Blood misses. They just dodge it just like that, and now they're gonna go in onto the turrets here of Bahamas. They're in their base. That's like, what, 4 members coming in and going back to take down that inhibitor. Cleanly executed by Colombia without any casualties at all. And now they might even take this mid tower. And for Bahamas, they're just kind of like tossing in all of their ultimates defensively as Abyss Cutie going in for the wild charge. Replic popping in the Zaman Force. There's going to be a shutdown onto Abyss Cutie. Wow. Yellow falls down as well. It's only Pancakes left to defend the base. He has the Vengeance up. Lucky is here as well. But they're going to be locking in the base here. There's minion waves as Colombia will pick up the first game with a victory 1-0 up against Bahamas.
Oh my goodness. We thought yesterday was a fast game. There was like a 9:57.
How long was that?
This was 9:05.
Okay, that is way faster than the game that the USA had up against, was that the Costa Rica? I have to double check, but yeah, so far it was Costa like Rica. 9 minutes and 57 seconds. So this is the fastest game. We're just breaking records here at the IESF America Regional Qualifiers, and wow, that's just statement by Colombia. They weren't even playing with a traditional lineup, Naisu.
Yeah, they like I said, I was saying this, it was a one-sided game. Colombia has been very dominant in all their matches up to this point, and it showed because once they had that lead, it even started out, once they had like a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead, they were already pushing pretty much moments where they're just like under the tier 2 turrets and everything else, and I'm not really sure like what you can really break down there from the Bahamas. It was a similar situation where they didn't have any room to breathe at all. We're going to take a look at the scoreboard here, of course, for this game number 1, and 9:04 was the time there. Just absolutely insane. And I mean, you can look at this, the damage already. I know this is one of the quickest games that we've seen, but there's just not much that the Bahamas was able to do to stop this, even for Lucky, and that's why I said when I saw the Nolan pop up, and I was just like, yeah, this is not going to end well for Lucky. And it showed because, even if Astro didn't pick up this Natalia, the way that Colombia moves around the map and the way they make their lineups work is ultimately the same, with whatever lineup they have. And they punished the Bahamas because they knew that they would be able to. And part of that too was the fact that, you have Abyss Cutie having this Grok, able to get enough information just by roaming around and being able to, make those plays for the team and allow Astro to, he's like that spotter for Astro, and Astro can kind of just swoop in and put enough damage out. And I don't know who to give the MVP here,
Same.
Because it was just like, they were all doing great things across the map. It's actually going to be Replic again. This guy got back-to-back MVPs yesterday, and it looks like he's going to go for it even today here against their matchup against the Bahamas.
It's not even, we didn't really check like what happened with between Replic and Yellow in the lane. All we know was the aggressive rotation coming out. Like, props to Abyss Cutie and the Natalia here for doing like very aggressive rotations that kind of enabled Replic to immediately go for like the Blood Wings, right? Like, that's already enough being said, because you've already picked up a lot of turtles. You're way ahead of your opponent, so you can just go in for full damage here, not even building like any defensive items at all. So Replic back-to-back MVP yesterday, and continuing that streak once again here for this game.
Yeah, it's I don't know, because I know he got one of those MVPs on the Harith as well yesterday, so we'll see what they kind of want to adjust from there. But honestly, Kim, at that point, it's like, the Bahamas has just not had a good time, so far from their day number 1, and then starting their day, of course, here for day number 2, the last day of groups, is definitely tough for them, and we'll see exactly how they approach the next game. We are going to be taking a short break here, about 5-6 minutes for you guys, so please do sit tight, grab a drink, rest up. We'll be back after the short break. And we are back from the short break. Thanks for being patient with us. Hope you got some refreshments. It was a very quick game 1. Again, I think it's our fastest one here so far. I'm not sure about the whole ISF qualifiers, Kim, but I mean, 904,
yeah.
What was it, 904?
904.
That's got to be one of the fastest.
Oh, definitely. I mean, record breaking would have to be like think it was like 7 minutes in the I think the Southeast Asian Games, but that's like the overall MLBB ecosystem. But for just for here, like the Americas qualifiers, definitely that has to be the fastest. We've had some long games here and there, but I wouldn't say like it's stretched out to like 30 minutes. So this is it's a very dominant game. There's nothing much that can be said about that first game. Some picks that I would say that the Bahamas could have picked something better, but then again, Mirko and I were talking about, again, comfort picks should be prioritized over meta picks, so I think that's what Bahamas were going for. But then again, with this being a match point, they haven't won a single game yet in the Americas qualifiers. They kind of have to step it up. Either, I don't know, is it in the draft, Naisu, or is it actually in the execution? Because sometimes they do have okay drafts, but then when it comes to like the layer of skills, it's just it doesn't fit.
I think again it's just it's an experience thing, because it just feels like when you're looking at Bahamas in general, it's actually, even from the matches yesterday, it's tough to see them move as a team. I think even regardless of what they draft here, it's more so like how they're moving around the map, especially early on, how they respond to some of the pressure being put on. And again, this is Colombia. Colombia is sitting there at the top of the standings, at least, for Group A from America's A, or from Group B from America's A. And, they move like a team that has been playing for some time, at least, together. So it's just a gap between, probably the experience from Colombia's players versus the Bahamas players here. Now, if they want to go ahead and try to get a game 3, of course, in this matchup, it's going to be pretty difficult for them. But I think part of that is obviously they're on the right side. They're on the blue side. Traditionally, you have the higher win rate there. And it's more so like, what are they going to prioritize? If I see a Carmilla pop up again, that's probably not where not where they want to go. But they have first pick. They could go with an assassin if they want to possibly try to scale up quicker, because we already know that teams have seen it, teams have done it. They will put pressure on the Bahamas, especially if they go with a risky jungle pick. So I think there's a lot here that the Bahamas kind of has to weigh in, and it's more so like, I think I agree with what even Mirko said. It's just like you guys were saying, pick your comfort. They go a Hayabusa. So they go with this. I don't know.
There's answers to that. USA,
I feel like it's good, but can you pull it off?
Yeah, there's definitely counters. The USA, it was the same case for match number 1. They picked up the Hayabusa. They immediately answered out with the Phoveus, but I know this was banned away in game number 1. The Ruby and the high loss to just make it even more harder here for Pancakes. He's been using like different types of junglers. You've seen the Julian, you've seen the Barretts, and now the Hayabusa. I'm actually wondering if this is something that they're pulling off like last minute, right? Like, okay, we need to have like something to scale up pretty fast in the early game, pull out the Hayabusa, but they really have to have the right composition to fit with the Hayabusa, knowing that Colombia already has these first 2 picks, the high loss and the Ruby. That's already super hard to penetrate.
I'm just wondering with the Hylos here, they're so tanky, that's part of it. But of course, you have the Glorious Pathway to help with kind of either cutting off, whether that's going to be on the retreats or the initiations. But I'm wondering how this will work, because we saw Hylos played against the Bahamas before yesterday, and that's when they did the double retribution thing. Yep. I don't think Colombia is going to do that, but we'll see what they decide. The Bahamas does go with the chip, and it's. As I was leading into the whole conversation when we got to the draft of like, the Bahamas needs to kind of move around better as a team. Well, what better hero to do that than Chip? At least in that way, you have shortcut. You can also zoom in or teleport in around the map and everything. But
what's your command?
One thing's for sure. Okay, Fanny's the answer against the Hayabusa, so that's interesting. We'll get to see Colombia play that. But going back to the Chip, I think it's great, but we have seen teams fail really hard at Chip too. Like they might pick him up because utility-wise, he's amazing, and that's why we still see him banned out quite a bit. But because the Chip is here, you could also end up being the demise of your team too. If you drop down the shortcut and they happen to go through it and you're not prepared for what's there, And, mind you, there's a Ruby already here.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to be pretty difficult to play against. So I hope the Bahamas is ready for that game plan and in utilizing that shortcut, the way that they have to kind of approach this now. And part of it too, again, is now that the Fanny's locked in, this is where it's like, all right, do they actually have it in them to get a game momentum in their favor? Because they showed signs of it. I would say they showed signs of it in the early minutes of the previous game, but then they were immediately punished. Like Lucky couldn't move around the jungle at all with the Nolan, So I think for the Bahamas, that's definitely going to be a big thing for them. We'll see what the last ban's going to be towards Colombia here. That was the Turizla being banned out. I like it has to be just a pure comfort pick. The Sicilians banned out again from Colombia.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the lineup here of these two. They don't have mid laners just yet, and we might actually run out of mid laners, like good mid laners, in the current patch because the Zushin's out, Zask, even the comfort here of Bahamas, which is the Sicilian, has been banned out twice. I'm thinking if there are maybe other picks that can come out of this
maybe a Valentina.
Yeah, it's actually still open here.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
Banned.
It's banned away.
Okay.
I'm thinking something along the lines of either a Savior or a Lilia, which is actually really good up against Assassin. Maybe not the Savior, but the Lilia. Great wave clear. Has the sustainability with the black shoes. You can just pop it when either the Oogie Shadow Kill is up or the portal's up. I think Colombia already has the answer to the chip. I'm just thinking about like the possible combinations that the chip can go with, right? Like the chip is good itself with utility, but you have to pair it with the right heroes. And like what you mentioned, one portal can lead to like the demise of your entire team.
Yeah.
So they really have to be a little bit more calculated. I like this. They really love the Carmilla here. Well, not for the Bahamas this time, but for Colombia, I think this is a direct answer to the chip. This is usually the answer, and I personally have tried it. Bahamas has to watch out for, every single portal that they lay out. Maybe sometimes they might not even use it because of all of these answers coming out from Colombia. You got a Hylos, you got a Ruby, and the Carmilla to greet you when you get out of portal. Definitely not the best way to travel. So Bahamas, they need that magic damage. They need that XP laner that can really set up the place, because right now Colombia is looking really strong with these first 4 picks.
And that's what I'm saying. You drop down that shortcut, you better be ready for Colombia, because all they really have to do is sit there with a Curse of Blood, drop it down, and then Ruby can even just go ham. And then you got a Fanny to sweep in. So there's a whole lot. And not to mention, they're going to be slowed down too with the Hylos, the Glorious Pathway. So that's what I'm saying. The chip was a risky pick, knowing that the Ruby was already there. The rest of the lineup, like we're seeing from Colombia, is built around that fact that they can completely counterplay into the shortcut. And, the last 2 picks, of course, from the Bahamas is going to be the Esmeralda, the Lilia. You mentioned the Lilia. Is picked up good clear speed, of course, in the mid lane. We'll see exactly if it's able to pump out enough damage early on to complement the Hayabusa.
Oh.
And this makes it even more difficult. Once again, Colombia picks up the Julian. Julian's been a top-performing jungle in all competition right now currently. And really difficult to play against, too, because of the amount of early game damage that Julian brings to the table. And even without, technically, when you see a Julian picked up, you see one of those damage-based mid laners, get picked up. And that's not the case this time, because I'm assuming it is Carmilla in the mid lane. And for at least, or unless they switch, right? Because Replik is actually holding on to the Ruby. So this is a gold lane or Ruby. And so for that case, again, Julian usually pairs up really well with these burst mages because it works synergistically. Like they also build up a Genius Wand on the Julian, helps, burst a little bit extra damage, of course, with the mid lane pick. But because it's a Carmilla, I don't think it's going to happen here unless, there's a different game plan. It's just really feeding into, of course, the Fanny. Oh, sorry, I'm actually thrown out here. I think it's just going to be Julian mid because it's Abyss Cutie. Yeah, so they're going back to, they're switching it back, basically. Abyss Cutie was on a Grok previously, and now he's going to be back in the mid lane. So, again, very dynamic from Colombia here. But let's jump into the Land Adonis game number 2 in this best of 3. We'll see if they can get to a game number 3 ahead of them. There are a lot of adjustments have to be made from the Bahamas. So yeah, there we go. All right, Abyss Cutie. That's what threw me off in the previous game. Yeah, on the Julian. I was like, you know, thinking he was playing Roam again here, but yeah, he is going to be on this mid lane Julian.
Yep, I mean, great early game, definitely from Colombia, not to mention Replic on the Ruby. I can imagine the possible ganks here from Lucky on the chip, right? Like, when you try to gank Replic with the Ruby, you can immediately get countered out by the I am offended. And as you can see, a lot of these visions being laid out here by Colombia all across the map, even here towards the XP lane. We see Primary God as well as Pancakes waiting in for that level 4 power spike. Pancakes again gonna miss out onto that level 4 as Primary God already getting it in. I think what's really crucial here about getting the assassin picks, not just for Bahamas but for both sides, like, is to have at least like a snowball early game for your team. And you're playing with 2 assassins here. Replic gonna be tanking up the damage coming out from Lucky as well as Yellow. Forced to back away, but I think you know, with the Ruby and the Brave Smite, it's definitely gonna be extra hard to take it down.
Yeah, it's already difficult enough to take it to take a Ruby down, but yeah, the Brave Smite available. Replic also, if I recall correctly, he played the Gold Lane Ruby yesterday as well, and you know, it's one of those things where, like, it's mainly just to kind of post up and be kind of at a stalemate, at least in the Gold Lane, and just make it to a point where you're just healing back up whatever damage is done to you. He does take quite a bit now. He's still getting some pressure there. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to withstand that. Flicker was already used too.
Yep, first blood is going to be drawn here by the Bahamas, and now we see as well Primary God getting stunned there. With the help of Lucky, though, really enables Yellow, but as we can see, there's also some disruption on the jungle side here. I don't think... Oh, it's actually Usagi that got the purple buff, so no purple buff here for Pancakes, and this is big, especially before the turtle take. Fortunately enough for Colombia, they didn't really go for more here, but the Julian, again, from Abyss Cutie, gonna get in the enhanced change onto Lucky. Not enough to take him down, as the glorious pathway has been laid out here by Dalika Eto. We see him soaking up all of the damage as Lucky will be the first one to fall. We see Pancakes as well utilizing the portal out as Primary God, and the rest of the members here of Colombia go straight for the turtle.
That can't feel good. I mean, Pancakes also not having this purple buff for him. I'm actually wondering, you know, what all happened there, of course, but ultimately Primary God's going to get the turtle here. Colombia will go ahead and find a couple wins for them. It was great that Bahamas got the first blood earlier on, you know, taking out Replic, putting the pressure there, but then, you know, they go and lose this. They might want to continue to put the pressure on this bottom side of the map, but, you know, it looks like this time around Colombia's like, yeah, you guys have had enough of that. We'll kind of keep this under control from now, and you can see multiple members of both teams kind of gathering here and getting ready for possibly an initiation, because that's the thing. Bahamas, they want to just farm up. Again, I'd like to see them, you know, being able to put pressure, but at the same time, farm up at least on this Clint to get Yellow to where he needs to be. He already got the first blood. Give him some more time. Give him some of that protection, because look at the bottom side.
Bottom side, that's going to be 2 members. I'm offended here by Replic. Yellow doing his very best, actually able to sustain all of that. Thrown out to him, but the Julian, Abyss Cutie, just around the corner. He's able to survive, recall back into the base in the nick of time. Actually done there by Yellow, not even using the flicker out. So bottom mid though, gonna get cleared out by Abyss Cutie. First turtle was taken in by Colombia, and right now it seems like Bahamas has them under control. Dalita Eto gonna be forced to use in that glorious pathway as Primary God. Gonna try to go in for some pickups. There's some sustain here. Is it enough to take them down though? They're able to get in a lot of the pokes. Enhanced change has been used here by Abyss Cutie as Lucky forced to flicker out to safety. Cleanly executed by both sides. No casualties at all. So it's 1-1. And as you can see, the goal lead, it's not that far this time, Naisu.
It's a lot. The Bahamas doing a lot better job here. Yellow's in trouble though.
Oh no.
Okay. Primary God will pick up that kill. Yeah, it's, you know, that's the thing though. It's like, even the previous fights that were happening up top, well, Lucky is, yeah, he's tanky enough. Okay, he's gonna be fine. But the fights earlier on, like, there was just, I'm surprised no one went down in it. There was so much committed by both teams. And so now a numbers advantage, you know, at least for a little bit, Colombia started up this turtle after that pickoff. I don't think the Bahamas is going to be doing anything about this. It looks like they can't. Primary God gets the second turtle of the game.
Yeah, they're able to sustain well onto the sides. I mean, you got a high loss, you got a Ruby. What's more to say, right? You can definitely keep your lanes up, especially, you know, when all of your other teammates are going to go for the team fight. Sonza, though, to be taking in the damage coming out from Abyss Cutie. It's actually a whole lot of damage. That's an Esmeralda that you're talking about. And even onto the purple buff, Primary God will be able to assassinate Pancakes and take away the purple buff as well. Abyss Cutie doing a 1v1 here up against Lucky. The portal is up.
Shortcut.
He's gonna get stunned. He goes in for backup as the Curse of Blood is laid down. Replic from the backside is able to get in the combo. That is so satisfying to watch coming out from the Curse of Blood, as well as the backup here coming out from Replic.
And that's what I'm saying. You drop the shortcut down, Replic can use it too. Shows up and just causes havoc, you know. And that's what I was saying. And that's why Ruby, you know, being that it was already locked in, and then they go the chip.
Oh, no. Yeah, Pusagi forced to flicker out and even use the black shoes. That's a whole lot of resources to take away from the Lilia. The mid tower's also gone, as Primary God will be able to solo kill Yellow. I mean, this is definitely a Fanny's job, right? Like, just to keep on ganking all of the side lanes. And even though Yellow was able to sustain earlier, right now he's just suffering the wrath here of Primary God in his lane.
Oh, there's Replic again.
He's able to sustain
Oh,
though. Oh, okay. Abyss Cutie goes in for the enhanced chains, and Pancakes goes down once again. What is up with Colombia here? They seem to have answers to every single thing, and Bahamas, they're just backs against the wall. Every single time they come out, they get taken down. Almost there though by Yellow, forced to flicker out. And now this is where it gets really tricky here for Pancakes. When you have an assassin pick, when you don't have the purple buff, it's really difficult. Not to mention that all of your lanes have been controlled by Colombia. Not having the purple buff is just extra harder for them to take in either objectives or maybe even the ganks here, as Primary God again 1v1 duel here with Lucky. The portal is up, picks up the mega kill as Pancake struggling to even get the red buff. He manages to take it in though, as Replic again going in for the I'm offended. Pancake's gonna fall as Usagi. Does he still have the black shoes here? He's going to be able to lay down the glooms here. But look at Colombia. Going to prepare for the dive as Primary God puts up the cutthroat and seals the deal here. 9 kills for Colombia. As Dalika Echo says, it's still not over. Yellow is going to fall down as well under their own turret. As Colombia, again, relentless on the chase here. Taking down members after members. And yeah, the chip pick, I feel like great utility. But honestly, Naisu, Colombia's lineup is well prepared for that.
Colombia, they didn't want you to get a moment of breath there, Kim, because, man, talk about the last minute and a half or so when they would just decided to switch it into gear. Look at the damage from Primary God. You get the black shoes out, now on the tier 2 turret.
Polystar wound here by Sonza. Not enough to tank up the damage coming out from the Fanny. Oogie Shadow kill from the backside. Grouped up together with the Revitalize as well. They're definitely able to sustain. I mean, at this point, like, everything that the Bahamas is throwing out, Colombia has the answer. And again, they can keep on doing this. They have so many ways to engage. Glorious Pathway, you got the Curse of Blood, and now Lucky trying to set something up, but Replic again going in for the I'm offended with the Glorious Pathway. Yellow gets slowed down, taken out instantly. He just respawned back into the Land of Dawn. This is tough for the side of Bahamas, and even Primary God at this point is just relentless, going in for the cutthroat. Pancakes able to sustain, dive in and out as they manage to recall back into the base here for Colombia. 12 kills for them and a 9k gold lead.
And Colombia, they just wanted to see how far to the edge they could get, and that's, you know, continuing to stay on that side of the base at really quite low too, was just kind of challenging the Bahamas. And you could see, you know, they got some more than what they really should have. They ignore the Lord for now. They just actually want to go ahead and continue to put pressure on the base here, possibly looking for a kill on Sonza.
Oh wow, what is that damage coming out from Primary God? He doesn't even have the Sky Piercer in right now. Front line of Colombia is able to stay in Glorious Pathway, slowing everybody down. Curse of Blood has been linking out 3 members, gets airborne. I'm offended as well to top it all off. That's gonna be, wow, 3 members down for the side of Bahamas. Make that 2 rather. I mean, right now, Naisu, it's just really confusing. Like, if I were Bahamas, it's so difficult to get out of the base. You get comboed here by Colombia, not to mention Primary God.
Oh, yellow.
Oh no, he manages to survive though. Pancakes gonna be able to go in for the Ugi Shadow kill, but then again, not the targets that you want. You got Astro, you got Replic, they're just gonna be able to sustain all of that.
And I think at this point, Colombia is trying to see how far they can go without taking a Lord. Just want to take as many kills as they can on the base. The shields are all going to be popped. Conceal's used. I'm not sure. Once again, Pathway's dropped.
Yep, and the Curse of Blood linking down 2 members and instantly gets bursted down by the cutthroat of Primary God. 3 members down, a double kill for Abyss Cutie. 705 on the Julian. And to top it all off, you got in the Rose Gold Meteor as Sonza not able to sustain. Primary God still unstoppable at this point, and Pancakes nowhere to go. Curse of Blood being laid out as the Colombia will be able to lock in the base and get the series with a sweep.
Took a little longer, but Colombia will go ahead and get a sweep once again here, dominating their side of the group of America's A. Again, you know, Colombia looking really good, confident. They don't even, to the point where they don't even want the Lord.
Yep.
And they juggled things around really well. And that's the thing, is even when you have a lead, it still takes a certain amount of communication and synergy to layer those ultimates, to push it in like that, because again, those shields are there on those turrets. You know, it's supposed to keep them from just getting into the base like that without even the Lord. But when teams pull it off and utilize the lineup that they have, that's where that ends up happening, and they are able to end a game without a Lord even getting it. We're gonna look at the highlights here. It was just a, you know, it was one-sided. Yeah, there was a first blood again from the Bahamas. Again, early on in those first couple minutes, they do pretty good, but then Colombia at some point just decides, you know what, that's enough. We're switching it into the high gear, and we're going to take this game away in a very quick fashion.
Yep.
And once again, this is what I was saying. The chip pick, as soon as that was popped up and there was a Ruby across from them, you knew that it was going to be, it wasn't impossible, but it's definitely going to be difficult because of the fact that Ruby can just go ahead, initiate. Yep. You saw this so many times from Replic, utilizing the I'm Offended, utilizing the Flicker when it was available. And it was just too much to really deal with. Plus, the usage of this Hylos, having the Glorious Pathway, a lot of the times it was just laying it down and setting things up. They had the Julian for Abyss Cutie, and it was so much to deal with for the Bahamas that I feel like at least for them, it was like, where do we even start? You know, who do we focus on? That was a great chain there with the Curse of Blood coming out from Astro too. So you could just see, like I was saying, time and time again, it's really synergistic with what we saw from Colombia able to do here. And I'm excited. I hope I get to see Colombia play against, you know, some other of the teams that are performing like this throughout the groups. Because I know, and we haven't caught too many of the games just yet from Mexico, I think it is. But Mexico has been very strong too in their performances. And of course, we have the United States as well doing great here. So can't wait to see what Colombia can do, because I'm pretty sure this win right here should get them, of course, to the playoffs next tomorrow. So very dominant, of course. They haven't dropped the game. And for the Bahamas, unfortunately, it's just, it was a tough one. It was a tough, actually tough couple days that they've had to go through here.
Back-to-back, actually. And for Colombia, it's a back-to-back sweeps for them. And, you know, to be able to execute this kind of draft, right? Like, you're not working with a contemporary draft, you're working with a Ruby Gold lane. But honestly, I think all I wanted to say in the entire game is, like, I can't even move. Like, I feel the Bahamas, right? Like, you combine, like, all of these skills. Glorious Pathway already slows you down. You got the Curse of Blood, and to top it all off, like, you got an insane amount of damage and follow-up setups from Replic's I Am Offended. It was just, I would say, probably one of the most satisfying games that I've seen, and the best layering of combos for this entire game. But we have to take a look at the MVP of the match as well, Nice. So it is none other than Abyss Cutie. I believe he's gotten in like an MVP as well yesterday. But on the Julian, yet you've seen the amount of damage that he was dishing out, like even up against the tankiest members of the Bahamas, he was able to delete them with just one combo of the enhanced chains, and picking up the Genius Wand, Divine Glaive to add up to more magic penetration. It's just I would say overall a very good and a very dominant game coming out from the side of Colombia, and I can't wait for them to go up against some of the top teams here in the qualifiers, the United States, Mexico, that has been really popular as well in the comment section.
We'll have to see. Again, Colombia looks really good, and this is a team that I feel like a lot of people want to see compete against some of these other big teams. And again, for the Bahamas, it's like, it's always these teams that they just, it's clear, like they need more time, they need more experience to gain here. And I hope they continue to go and play as a team or get experience in whatever that way they can. Because obviously, the competitive MLBB scene is quite different from around the world. I know for there's a lot happening, and hopefully the players and other teams like from the Bahamas can go ahead and find some of that time, that experience that they're looking for here. But yeah, it's unfortunate that I believe that, kind of concludes things. They might have another game later on for them, but definitely have to see them again next year for IESF. Now for, of course, the rest of us, we are going to be looking forward to another game here. We're going to have a break. This is going to be a long break again, guys. We are on a fixed schedule. It's not a rolling schedule. Just to explain why sometimes we have these long breaks for you guys, where Kim's going to get some rest. I will also have this break and then be back here with Mirko after this. So we're going to take a 50-minute or so, 56-minute break before we get prepared for our next matchup that we'll have for you guys. So come back, hopefully get some refreshments, and we'll be back after the break.